Friedrich Nietzsche believed that one of the greatest pursuits in life was the cultivation of one's own will, an unshakable inner freedom. In his view, relationships can be beautiful, but they often bind us to compromises that weaken our individuality. To Nietzsche, the single life was not about loneliness, it was about liberation. When you are single, you have complete sovereignty over your time, your thoughts, and your choices. You are not constrained by another person's expectations or the invisible chains of social obligation. This freedom is not merely physical, it is intellectual and spiritual. It allows you to develop your own philosophy of life without interference. Nietzsche often spoke about the concept of becoming who you are. He believed most people never truly discover themselves because they are too busy living by others' rules, following the herd. Romantic relationships, especially those formed without deep self-awareness, can pull you further into that herd mentality. You begin to shape your life around someone else's vision instead of your own. To Nietzsche, solitude was not a void to be filled, but a sacred workshop for the soul. It is where you sharpen your mind, deepen your self-knowledge, and fortify your willpower. The single life, if embraced with purpose, gives you the space to build your life deliberately rather than reactively. When you choose to stay single for a time, you are not rejecting love. You are rejecting the premature surrender of your freedom. Nietzsche would say this is not a loss, but a profound gain, the chance to stand fully on your own, unshaken by the world. For Nietzsche, the ultimate measure of a person was not their wealth, status, or even their relationships, but their ability to master themselves. This is the essence of his idea of the will to power, the drive to grow, to strengthen, and to rise above one's former self. When you are single, you are in the perfect position to focus on this self-mastery without distraction. You can channel your time and energy into developing skills, pursuing knowledge, and cultivating discipline. You're not negotiating with another person's desires. You are setting the terms of your own evolution. Nietzsche warned against becoming what he called the last man, a comfortable, complacent individual who avoids struggle and growth. Relationships, if entered into without deep awareness, can sometimes encourage this comfort-seeking state. You begin to settle into routines designed for stability, not transformation. The single life, in contrast, forces you to face yourself directly. If you want excitement, you must create it. If you want meaning, you must build it. There's no one to blame for stagnation, and no one to rescue you from it. This pressure can be uncomfortable, but Nietzsche believed discomfort was essential for growth. Self-mastery is not about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming so grounded in who you are that you can engage with the world from a place of strength. Only when you have forged yourself into something resilient and independent can you enter into a relationship without losing your essence. In Nietzsche's philosophy, staying single isn't a delay in life's journey. It is the training ground for greatness. Here, you learn to command yourself before you ever try to lead or share your life with another. Nietzsche had little patience for what he called the herd, the mass of people who conform to social expectations without questioning them. He saw the herd mentality as the greatest obstacle to individuality. In modern life, one of the strongest herd pressures is the expectation to pair up, to date, to marry, to build the life everyone else builds. While relationships themselves are not inherently bad, Nietzsche would argue that entering one just to fit in is a betrayal of your higher potential. When you stay single by choice, you actively resist one of society's most ingrained narratives. You step outside the script. This can be uncomfortable because the herd rewards conformity with approval and punishes difference with skepticism or pity. For Nietzsche, this discomfort is precisely the point. The path to becoming your true self often means enduring misunderstanding. Being single allows you to experiment with your values instead of absorbing someone else's. You can travel without compromise, make decisions without consensus, and pursue goals without diluting them for another's comfort. This freedom isn't about selfishness, it's about clarity. Nietzsche's Übermensch, or Overman, is someone who creates their own meaning and lives beyond the herd's morality. Singleness, when embraced consciously, becomes a fertile space to cultivate this independence of thought. To Nietzsche, escaping the herd is not about running away from people. It's about refusing to let the crowd dictate the shape of your soul. And staying single, even when the world pressures you otherwise, is one of the boldest ways to practice that defiance. Nietzsche often warned that most people fear solitude because it forces them to face themselves without distraction. Yet for him, solitude was not loneliness. It was a crucible where the deepest transformation occurs. When you're in a relationship, much of your time, energy, and attention is naturally shared. Even in healthy partnerships, your inner voice can become quieter, drowned out by the constant feedback loop of another person's presence. Singleness removes that noise. It gives you space to hear your own thoughts, unedited. Nietzsche believed that solitude was the training ground for great ideas. He wrote much of his most profound work while wandering alone in the Swiss Alps, far from the crowd. This wasn't an accident. He knew that creativity requires room to breathe, and solitude provides that oxygen. In your own life, staying single can be the equivalent of retreating to those metaphorical mountains. With no relationship to anchor you to routine expectations, you can experiment with new skills, dive into intellectual pursuits, or simply sit with your mind long enough to understand what truly excites you. Nietzsche would say that this is where the seeds of your higher self take root. The more comfortable you become in your own company, the less likely you are to compromise your values for fear of being alone. Solitude transforms from something to escape into something to protect. Choosing singleness doesn't mean closing the door on love forever. It means refusing to fill your life with noise just to avoid silence. And for Nietzsche, that silence is where the alchemy of self-creation happens. For Nietzsche, the highest goal in life wasn't comfort or companionship. It was self-overcoming. This is the process of continually challenging who you are today to become something greater tomorrow. It's not about competing with others. It's about surpassing your former self. When you're single, you have the rare opportunity to direct all your energy inward, to notice your weaknesses without distraction, to test your limits without the pressure of pleasing another person. Relationships can be beautiful, but they can also create a gravitational pull that keeps you in orbit around the needs and rhythms of someone else's life. Nietzsche believed that the free spirit must avoid becoming too entangled in obligations that dull their edge. Staying single gives you the freedom to rebuild yourself over and over without having to negotiate every change. Want to move across the world? Switch careers? Redefine your identity? When you're unattached, you can pivot instantly, guided only by your own evolving vision. Self-overcoming requires discomfort. It demands you voluntarily step into challenges that will force growth. Many avoid this because comfort feels safer, but Nietzsche would argue that this safety is a kind of slow death. Singleness removes the illusion that someone else will rescue or complete you. It leaves you face to face with your own potential and your own responsibility to realize it. In the end, self-overcoming is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong discipline. Staying single, for however long you choose, gives you the clean space to practice it without compromise. It's not just about avoiding bad relationships. Nietzsche warned often about the herd mentality, the tendency for people to adopt the values, habits, and desires of the crowd without questioning whether they are truly their own. In relationships, this herd thinking can be even more insidious. Society has a script: find someone, settle down, have children, and follow the familiar milestones. Many follow it not because it reflects their deepest truth, but because they fear the judgment that comes from straying too far from the norm. When you stay single, you automatically step outside that script. You begin to see that much of what people call love is often just a form of social conformity. Many couples are not bound by true shared vision, but by the momentum of what they think they should be doing. Nietzsche believed that the truly free spirit must question all these inherited values and rebuild them from scratch. Singleness is the perfect training ground for this. Without the constant influence of a partner's worldview, you can ask yourself, what do I really want? Do you want marriage, children, a nomadic life? Or do you want to dedicate your time to art, philosophy, or adventure? When you are unattached, your answers come from within, not from compromise or external pressure. Nietzsche's point wasn't that relationships are inherently bad, but that most are entered into unconsciously as an attempt to fit in. If you first learn to stand entirely on your own, you are far less likely to dissolve into the crowd's expectations. You will carry into any future relationship a rare independence of mind, the kind that refuses to trade truth for comfort. Nietzsche never condemned love, but he warned against seeking it too soon. His vision was simple: first become whole, then share that wholeness. Too often, people enter relationships out of fear of being alone, only to dissolve into the needs and desires of another before they have even met themselves. When you've spent time single, not as a passive state, but as an active forging of your independence, love transforms. It is no longer a desperate grasp, but a conscious choice. You no longer need someone to complete you. You choose someone who complements the complete person you've already become. Nietzsche saw this as the highest form of love. Two strong, self-reliant individuals walking side by side, each free, each whole, each capable of leaving, and yet choosing to stay. That kind of love is only possible when you first embrace solitude and mind it for its treasures: clarity, resilience, creativity, and self-respect. Staying single, then, isn't a rejection of love. It's preparation for its most powerful and enduring form. You don't avoid connection forever. You simply refuse to sacrifice your becoming for the comfort of premature attachment. As Nietzsche might say, stand alone until you are someone worth standing beside. If this resonated, subscribe for more videos that dig deeper into philosophy, self-mastery, and building a life you don't need to escape from. And if you're ready to fully own your solitude, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Their best chapter might begin right now.